Right. So good evening, one and all. Welcome to GEG API, GG Ahmedabad and Pune joint session. And today's our topic is creative ways of student assessment. And we are glad to have with us Ms. Pradanya Gokhale from Pune. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to the session. Today's session expert is Pradanya, ma'am. She is a wonderful educator and a wonderful, inspiring person. She is a CBSE master trainer, and she has got many more credits to her. I would not be just, I'll fall short of words while, speaking something about her. I may even make mistakes. So I would just ask her to introduce herself first, and then later on start the session. So, ma'am, over to you. Kindly please introduce yourself and then start the session.
Thank you, Dr. Vishal Varia, sir, and I'm really glad and good evening, and thank you to Reshma Hona, both of them. I'm always indebted because, they are doing a wonderful job, and this is the need of the hour, and I can imagine on a Saturday evening. So this really shows the dedication of educators around the world to be a part of learning, lifelong learning we can call it. So namaskar, Shubha Sandhyakal, and this is today is Marathi Divas, and I am based out of Pune. So that is how I said Shubha Sandhyakal. I'm Pragya. I'm currently Dean of Academics for Kothari Group of Schools in Pune. And but I will say I am a teacher and will remain a teacher and will remain to learn from great educators like all of you over here. So, shall I start the session, sir,
yes,
now?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So to begin with, I think assessments in today's scenario, it's slightly daunting because of the change in the way we used to deliver. So we were face-to-face, it was slightly better, but now because of online mode, it's slightly become more challenging. So give me a minute and I'll share my screen now.
In the meantime, I take this opportunity to welcome all. Today we have got educators from around the world, Malaysia, Indonesia, Maldives, China, UK, Canada, of course, California, and from many other places we have mentors joining us today. So I'm so glad to welcome you all.
Sir, is my voice low, sir? Somebody had written...
We are fine and audible, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, so today, as sir said, we are going to discuss creative ways of student assessment. And largely today's focus would be purpose of assessments, then different types of assessments which we have tried and tested. Some of them would be known to you, some of them may not be known, but so we'll discuss that. Purpose of questioning, because questioning forms an integral part of assessment. And forming a question, though I will not delve upon that as much because that itself will be a very big session. And then connecting all the types of assessment, some tips for you to use that in your classroom. So talking about assessments, probably there is always a difference between when we call evaluation and assessment. And most of us always, we are very evaluation and but the very idea of assessment or any sort of test that we give is probably to enhance student learning. So if it is so, assessment should be an integral part of our teaching learning processes. And on a lighter note, if I'm going to put the assessment versus evaluation, I would say when the cook tastes the soup, that's formative. And when the guest tastes the soup, that's summative, or that's an evaluation. if possible, I may not be able to see the chat, but I could get a response from you as to what would you feel the difference between evaluation and assessment. Apart from one word, you could give your response in one word in the chat. That would be nice. What is the difference that you feel in between assessments and evaluation? So, sir, are we getting, because I may not be able to see the chat.
I'm just posting your question, ma'am, again in the chat, and we shall be getting the answer soon.
Thank you, sir. You could give me a example of evaluation or assessment. That is also fair enough.
What I understand of these two terms is assessment is something you are assessing that's positive, and evaluation is something that you are measuring. It can be positive or negative.
Okay. Yes. And then if we are remediating on our assessment, that is what will make it easier for children to go forward. So
Yes.
thank you, sir, for those inputs. So if you're largely today, we are going to talk about formative assessments mainly, the focus would be. And if we are talking about assessments, we should know the assessment paradigm that even boards, CBSE board or talks about it. So when you're talking about the first assessment, so there are 4 types of assessment paradigms. If you look at assessment of learning, that would mean teacher designs learning and collects evidences and judgment. This is largely summative or at the end of the term. Okay, so it is just to understand whether learning has taken place. Beyond that, nothing happens. But now this is important, assessment for learning. In that case, here teacher gives a feedback after she takes maybe a small test, she gives a class test, and then she assesses, oh, these children, say 20% have not understood. So she gives a feedback to the student for the student to remediate, for student remediation. The third one, if I'm talking about assessment as learning, this is to teacher and students together, they go on the path of assessment. So largely a very good example that I've put in is peer assessments. And then assessments in learning. So if students are the focus of learning, then students should be able to evaluate or assess themselves. And that is a very good example is metacognition. So today's presentation, I would largely focus on assessment for, as, and in learning. And if that is so, our continuum of assessments, if you're looking at this curve, if you look on to the teacher leads the assessment, to my right, most of the schools are extremely good at it, because since ages, we all have mastered this art, like standardized testing. We have teacher designed tasks and tests. So maybe your all sorts of term end exams or final exams and standardized testing are all board exams. Teacher observations, or slightly we start going to the formative side. So teachers' observation in the class, questioning technique by the teachers, again, slightly teacher oriented. But if you look at on my left, which reads child leads the assessment, here self-assessment. So because the child herself or himself wants to understand whether whatever is taught has seeped into the child. So self-assessment or conferencing, portfolio assessment, concept maps are strong child-led assessments. And we are going to see that. So if there is a mix of both, we would say assessments are adequate. It shouldn't be lopsided. It shouldn't be either only child-led assessments or teacher-led assessments. It should be a fine mix of both the types of assessments that I think normally all schools follow that. So let's look at some interesting, because today's session is largely talking about creative ways of assessment. And I have brought some of the different ways that you can assess children, because children, as they want to have interesting thing, as they want an activity interesting, they also want a creative assessment techniques. And assessment is important for us, that whether we are going in the right path or we should be reteaching, we should again go back to the topic. So that assessment is very important. And most of the teachers say, ma'am, we are not able to understand, especially in online, you're going to see some of the faces from, and being online, you're not able to see sometimes, and it becomes very difficult for the teacher to understand. So the first one, it's say the onion rings. And onion rings are, how are they concentric? This can happen face to face, where you make students stand in circles and facing each other. So there are two circles, one inner circle and one outer circle. Now the teacher, either there is one type where the teacher asks a question. When she has finished a topic, she asks a question, and the inner circle faces the outer circle student. So these two are facing each other. So there will be a pair, and they discuss the answers of the question asked by the teacher. Then after 2 minutes, when the teacher says change anti-clockwise or clockwise, they again change and they go to another partner and share. Say maybe it is a discussion about what are the benefits of, say, Panchayat Raj, or any topic which you want students to discuss on, or say properties of solids. So here the students are discussing with each other, but here you have to be careful that go around and see what discussion is going on. After they have done about 2 or 3, you could pose another question, and this is how learning goes. The benefit of this is they're learning from each other, they're taking their opinions, and whatever the teacher has asked, there is a lot of sharing between the groups. And when they are back, they can pen down whatever learning is there on paper for you to assess whether the discussion has been concrete. Talking about think, pair, square, share, most of us do that. We do think, pair, and share. Square is think. So when you are teaching a concept, when you are teaching, break that into smaller modules, sub-concepts. So once you have taught a sub-concept, maybe you're talking about landforms, maybe you're talking about forces, you're say maybe doing fractions. So when you're done a small element, ask the students to think whether they have understood. Then they pair up with the child who is sitting beside them. Then they square. So the square forms the children who are sitting in front of them. They form a square and they share. And then finally, that sharing happens in front of the whole class. Like they share it with a larger group. In this case, also, this is a very good, strong element of collaborative learning as well as assessment. You are able to understand whether what you have taught is being understood, and it breaks the drudgery of the class. Entry and exit slips, I know this, and I have been using this extensively. Like today, if I wanted to understand how many people understood about Marathi Divas, like I just got a reply from somebody that, Subhecha. So I just say that Shubha Sandhya ka wish me in Marathi. And if I get this as entry slips, I quickly know how many Marathi people are over here. Now, exit slips are both entry and exit. Entry can be for the previous days, what you have taught them, or it could be prerequisite. And exit slips, very, very important for us to know quickly whether the students have understood. At the end, suppose you have taught them equivalent fractions and you want, so give me an example of equivalent fractions, and you ask them to post in the chat to you, say privately, in the sense because you don't want others to see, otherwise they'll just copy. And then you know, out of your 40, 50, 60 students, how many have understood what you have taught. So you could use that judiciously as an online or as an offline also. Ask them to write on chits of paper, and then you leave your classroom. So this is a thing. Then 3-2-1 technique. Now this technique I used to use a lot in the classes. Say make a curiosity corner and make wisdom wall. So that was what are the 3 things that I learned? What are the 2 things which I found interesting? And 1 I still have not understood. So this is a very, again, a subtle form of metacognition, but even for a teacher, she or he quickly understands that, yeah, so wisdom wall is where students post what they have learned and they have found it interesting. And curiosity corner, you can put 2 charts where students with their sticky notes post that I did not understand that particular concept. Gallery walk, if you are looking at gallery walk, is widely used, where we put up some, say maybe it can be even students' work, or you put up some things which the students have to see. So this increases their observation power. So you're talking about physical landforms, you put up pictures of landforms and ask them those 2 questions you prepare and ask them after the gallery walk, you're answering that. So you are increasing their observation skills, and after you have taught, you're also understanding whether they have understood. When we are talking about numbered heads together, this normal in a face-to-face classroom also it works very well, where you divide your class, say you have a 40 or 50 students class, and you divide them into groups and give everybody by their roll numbers. Everybody has their roll numbers. Now, when they are done, randomly you say 4, roll number 4 will tell the whole class of what was being discussed in their own group. So here, what happens is everybody is attentive. They're discussing in the group, but you are being very specific. You know whom to choose to answer those questions. So after you have taught a bit of the portion, ask them. So maybe you can pose even questions of, say, maths. Suppose you are teaching. Ask them to discuss and quickly randomly ask a child to say that, yes, you speak, what was the discussion and what was discussed in the group. Socratic seminar, I think we all use that. Here, students pose questions and they believe they come into the teacher's shoes and shoot out those questions, and their friends answer. Probably sometimes it is also writing on a chit of paper, crumbling it and throwing it, and then somebody else opens up and tries to answer. So here, forming questions is also critical thinking, and you are assessing them on their question making skills as well. Quick poll, here, this is mainly for online, I would say. If you're using a Zoom platform or Microsoft Teams, you could use, there are many other ways where, you can get a quick poll for the teacher. This is a learning, because you get in percentages that 70% have answered it correctly or incorrectly. So this is a good way of assessing your class, how they have understood. And I'm sure graphic organizers, many of us use, mainly we use the concept map. And so in this case, when we ask them, suppose you have taught them classification of animals, and you are now towards the end, you ask them, now you all try to draw a concept map, not the typical one. And the way they classify and the way they draw the concept map with the details gives you an idea, and ask them to submit them. So you get an idea as to how many students have understood the lesson. So graphic organizers, there are plenty of templates on the online platform. So maybe there are sandwich, there are various ways, flow charts. It's the way you as a teacher, you want to analyze or assess their skills. And QQC, now this is something which, I was a part of a forum, and where I love this for, so I've put it forward to you. Now Q So here Q stands for quote, Q stands for question, the second Q, and C stands for comment. Now, how to use that? You ask the children to say read an article. So you have posted some articles, say, on popular platforms like the Edmodo, and then you ask them to form a quote of an article. Why? Okay, we discuss about quotes of famous people. Automatically, when they have to find or phrase a quote for that article, it is a sort of a small little summary in few words. So that is the quote question. Sometimes the article may pose some questions for the student. So again, you're making them think and read that article independently. And C stands for comment. So as and when the students start posting on the Edmodo, they can comment on each other's, say, questions or quotes, or they have some other comments. So this is a good way of sharing. I'll be sharing some 2-3 online if I have the time though. So if you're looking at it, these are some of the formative assessments. Then apart from this, I know many of you may be using Four Corners. Four Corners activity it can be used in several ways. So largely here, what I'm posing as Four Corners is, they have the corners as, say, you could put as strongly agree, then strongly disagree, slightly agree. So that gradation, like a Likert scale, you could have those. And then you present a very controversial statement. Okay, you say that you need to come only 3 days to the school, or this I'm just saying, but in your curricular, you could have any controversial statement and then ask the students to go to these corners. Now, do not tell them to go immediately. Ask them to spend a few minutes and write down their position, where do they want to go and why do they want to go. Otherwise, they find their friends, they say, okay, we will go to strongly. Some of them don't think. So unless and until they have written an explanation and where they want to go, do not allow them to go to the Four Corners. Each one with his own mind selects the corner and there they discuss. After they have discussed, you can have a flip of maybe 2 across. So you could probably not have all 4 flips. So this is again a good method of asking students to discuss and write down, and again a collaborative way, but again an independent thinking. You could use Four Corners as, say, you have, say, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores. So you could have that and assign students those corners and ask them to go and write everything about that particular task that you have put in. So Four Corners can be used extensively. On online platform, maybe you could think of how you could use Four Corners. Maybe you could ask on your screen, or maybe you could call out names and say that, yes, you are, say, the green corner, say, strongly disagree, something. Not have physical corners. You could probably use this as a technique. And this really works very well. Children like to move around in the class. And I'm sure even with very small classrooms also, it's not very difficult at all. So you could use even a playground, or you could use our conference halls. You could plan that, but ideally, I'll tell you, as teachers, we hardly have time. So in your own classroom, you can quickly have these Four Corners and get an understanding as to how the children perceive that particular controversial statement. Going forward, here, I've just put up these 2 strategies. So one is the tic-tac-toe choice board for a book report. So this is like for an English assessment. So everybody has read a small reader, a rapid reader or a book, and you are going to see whether, so instead of saying write a character sketch, we normally, English teachers, maybe all of them, write some specific questions for everybody to write. Here, you're giving the democracy. So you're giving a lot of ways of writing a report. So maybe you draw a picture of the main character. So now tic-tac-toe means they have to do 3 things maybe a diagonal row or a horizontal row or a vertical row, how we used to play the tic-tac. So minimum 3 things is what you're asking them. So you are giving them that liberty of doing so. So this is one way you can get the assessments, and children, they also feel nice that I've got 3 varied ways of doing it. Another technique to my right, if you're able to see the cubing strategy, here, say in math, suppose you ask them to bring a dice and ask them to roll out the dice. So tell them to do that maybe twice. Again, very similar to tic-tac-toe. Here, based on, so that's a luck. So if they've got 4, then they have to do this brainstorm on the ways that you make that money, use numbers, words. So in that case, all these 6 ones over here have to be the same difficulty level. But again, a very, the children get enthused by playing on that dice, and maybe you could ask them that, okay, you're going to roll the dice twice maybe. So this is one strategy which can be used. Talking about, so this is again, all this, what I was saying is this is all a blend where teachers, largely teacher, but mostly the students are involved in the assessment. So if you're looking here, so the teacher creates a spinner over here. If you're able to see, there is a small spinner, and this is a one-time job. It's not every time that you need to do. And you can have 4, you can have 5, you can have 3 quadrants, where you want sometimes them to explain, sometimes to predict, then sometimes you could just have, okay, a free talk on, say, whatever topic you're talking on. Say you're talking about how could I increase the number of butterflies in the garden, or if you're talking about insects, if you're talking, so if you want them to summarize sometimes and evaluate. And then what the teacher does is, again, let me tell you, these can be graded, this cannot be. So as and when the students give the response, you could have your observation sheets there. It's not always necessary that we have a pen and paper. Of course, we do give Google Forms, quizzes. We will be talking about quiz. I think most of us use Quizlet. This one, say the teacher spins and you have taught, and then suppose it comes on summarize or evaluate. Now you're going to ask any student, call out the names and say, okay, quickly summarize whatever we have learned in today's session. Immediately you will get answer, and you can mark your observations for that particular child. So randomly, maybe, you could have 4, 5 or 7 spinning and telling about randomly. So you can use it alternate days, and you could get a lot of data as to how the assessment has taken place. Now talking about say self-assessment, I largely believe in self-assessment because ultimately it's the students, and hardly we have any scope for children to reflect. And as teachers also, we hardly reflect. I'm talking about myself also as a teacher. I was teaching grade 9 and 10, and then hardly I used to get time to look at my math lesson as to where, by chance, if I'm looking at a recording, I'm trying to edit it, that is the time when I used to look and I used to say, oh, I could have asked this question. Maybe my essential questions were wrong. So reflection is one which we never do, but we should encourage students as well as to reflect. So now these rack cards are good even for the teacher, I will say. Here, this we have done what is very simple. Primary students just love it. Ask them to make 3 colored cards. You can ask them to laminate them so that they don't get torn actually. And when you have taught a small thing, say you have taught about trees, shrubs, herbs, say this is a first standard class, and you have taught them the difference between what is a tree, what is a shrub, what is a herb. So when you're asking them, and at the end of the lesson, you're going to ask them how many understood. So if they have not understood at all, they're going to show you the red card. They have understood partially, maybe they're going to show you the yellow card, and the green card if they've got it all. So when I need to show my own card as a student, I am able to retrospect and to what my teacher has taught. Maybe it may not be very apt for first, but of course by second, third, they are smart enough, and we should make them smart, in fact. And the teacher also at a glance quickly understands whether I need to reteach that lesson. Talking about KWL charts, this is know, want to know, and learn. So this, every notebook can have the first page as this. When the teacher is introducing about any aspect of the lesson, the children quickly say fractions. What do you know of fractions? Before you start, the students list down that. Want to know, let the students ask us what do they want to know. Maybe they want to know how to divide the pizza in 12 or 15 equal parts. Let them write that. And ultimately at the end of the lesson, they like learn. So you also get an idea and student gets an idea of learning. So this is what it's it. This is for a little older students, where I call it as for pre and formative again, where prediction, they write, you know, you're giving them statements and they're predicting what they feel it might be. And ultimately when they have learned, then they write their findings. So this is again from this slightly, these are for, you know, middle school and secondary school. So these type of assessments really help the students to understand. And peer assessment tools, we have formative feedback. So we use a lot of, as I said, Edmodo, so or Canvas, and turn into it. So this gives the students to write something about what the child has presented. Peer grading, we ask them to grade their peers, and peer assessment of group work presentation. So again, one group assesses the other and tells why have they given that grading. So you're making them responsible. And on the right hand side, these are the various online tools which you can make use of for peer assessments. And different assessment techniques online. So here what I would do is, towards the end, I would be quickly sharing. So I can show one or two very quickly over here to you. So Kahoot or Mentimeter is widely used by teachers because students love puzzles and quizzes. That should be a part of our lesson every time. Crossword Puzzle Maker is what I'm going to show you. Google Forms we use, Google Spreadsheets we use. IndiaBix has got loads of assessments for students. So I'll quickly show you what I mean by student, the crossword puzzles, or this I was talking to you about. And I'll quickly share. Sir, we have 5 minutes, right, sir? Okay. So talking about, are you all able to see my screen? So this is a very, very powerful crossword puzzle maker. It's very difficult for us teachers to make crosswords, but children all the same like it. So go towards the end over here. I'm not taking responses. Usually I take in a lot of responses. Say I've just put in, you know, normally when I conduct. So just, I'll just show you how it works. So you just have to put in this word maybe and a clue. That's it. Nothing else. Say I'm just normally just putting something which is coming. Okay, and then after I put in these clues and words, I need not fill in all that, and I quickly say make a puzzle. As soon as I make a puzzle, the puzzle is ready. Hello? Yeah. So the puzzle is ready. See, now these are all the, so the students can solve it online. And if you look at this answer, there is a PDF downloadable version of this that, so see, it's in 2 minutes, you have the puzzle with you, which is downloadable. So the beauty of this site is you can even ask the students to solve this online. So the students solve it online and check the solutions. So this is very interesting. The other thing what I was talking about as Edmodo or sharing, commenting, QQC, this is of course for teachers, and we are all as school principals and a lot of educators are there on this group. This is Padlet, use of Padlet where comments, feedback is being given. So use Padlet extensively for our QQC or peer feedback. Flipgrid, most of you must be using. This is a great platform for, again, assessment where students make videos of particular concepts and share it with you as if they're actually, maybe some of them may be teaching as well, that concept. So children love this. Small little, they make small videos and they share and you can grade them. Turnitin is again a very powerful tool for peer assessment as well as feedback. Like I showed you the Padlet, which most of you must be using. So this is a very good tool. And Nearpod is again by Microsoft, though this is not visible. So one of our teachers was using it that day, where she was actually asking them to see, she was talking about curved lines and straight lines, and she asked everybody to take sticky notes, and she used Nearpod and asked them to give their responses. Say Pradnya Gokhale, and they drew something, you know. So she was able to know, and they were posting it on her Nearpod screen. So she was with the class. She was quickly understanding how many have understood. And Canvas, as I showed you, is again a powerful tool for peer assessment. You can explore it as much as you can. So these are some of the online techniques that I wanted to share. So I hope my presentation is visible, sir, and can we go ahead?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yeah. Yes, we can.
So this, of course, some of you are interested, take a screenshot. I was tempted to show you this because this is extensive, a lot of different techniques for assessment. So in case you want, and then zoom out the way you want. I know we should not have a text anytime like this, but they're all A to Z. That is what I saw. Going forward, this is the last segment of mine where I say questioning. So I would quickly want your responses. How many questions do you ask each day in the class? So you could post your, say any number that comes. So it could be from morning to the afternoon. How many questions do we normally ask in the class on an average? And post your answers in the chat box. I'll wait for a minute. So if you're there, I'm sure some of you must be, listening to this particular thing over your cell phones. You're traveling. I'm sure it becomes very difficult. Sir, do we have any responses in the chat, or I'll move forward then? Right?
We have many responses, ma'am. It's starting with minimum number of, say, 5 questions till 10, 15 questions, and most of participants have already replied.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody, for that. And you'll be surprised that approximately, we have around 350 questions asked per day, and 15% of our classroom time is devoted. Now, what are those 350 questions? They are not planned. Like, how are you today? How did you spend your day? Are you not feeling well? These are all included in those 350 questions. However, so these are very low level or mundane questions. Only 10% of those questions are largely which requires any thinking by the learner. So if you're talking about, say, 35, maybe spanned over 7 periods, if you have, say, 5 questions are the ones which we ideally ask, which require thinking. And I would say questions, right kind of questions, are going to give you an understanding whether students have understood or not. So your questions in the classroom should be very, very meticulously planned. And so one of them could be, how do you like, if they've understood a concept, this is just one of the ideas that I'm giving you. Give or identify an example of a concept. So suppose you're talking about force, and you're going to tell them, okay, tell me an example of force. So, immediately the teacher must have said, so they'll say magnetic force. Then, but don't stop at that. You're going to ask them to defend why magnetic force is a type of force. So here you're then getting a clear understanding whether the students have understood. And not only that, ask them to give a non-example of the concept. So, in fact, if they're going to say pressure, or if they're going to say something else than the force, you're understanding that they have understood. So that is a non-example. And why is it a non-example? So very specific, in a different way you're asking. You're not asking them, okay, define force and give examples. That's it. But if we ask this way, you're sure that the students have understood. And so this was one of the questions which I had given. Now, this is a different way. If you're teaching volume, now what you're saying, I have a cylindrical bottle which holds 1 liter water. You're going to tell them, okay. And then you're saying radius of the bottle is so much and height is so much. Now, if you actually calculate, it will never be 1 liter. So, but you're saying make the statement true. The statement true is still cylinder. So it is working the other way. It's not the regular way. So here you're asking them to revise how much would the bottle lie on. So different ways of asking. Now, this is one example as a small picture as this. Either you could do the Socratic method of students forming questions. So you can use it for English, you can use it for math, you can use it for science, or you can form some questions out of this, any HOTS questions. Now we do not have time. Otherwise, I would have told you, if you have, if you have thought of, you could just pose one question in the chat, and I'm not waiting, but of course we could look at those questions formed by you later. Any quick question that comes to your mind when you see this picture, right? So you can use this picture for any of your assessments. Children will be, oh, some ma'am has brought something for us. And the last thing what I wanted to ask you, what I wanted to share with you is how do you pose a question in the classroom? So connecting that. So this is a very good, very popular technique. I say pose, pause, pounce, and bounce. And how do I use it in my classroom? I pose a question. Okay, define force, say. Then I pause 30 seconds. Those donkey ear questions are the students, you normally blurt out the answers. Tell everybody to count 30 in their mind. And then you call out, so that is the pause stage. Then you call out a name of the student. So that is pounce. You actually don't pounce on the student, but you ask, say, if I say Varya sir, or Reshma ma'am, answer that question. So I'm calling out a name. Now, whatever they answer, you do not say, yes, you are right, and make them sit. So you're going to ask some other student, bounce, that whether Pradnya or Reshma has answered it correctly. What do you think? So that is the bounce stage. So pose, pause, pounce, and bounce are good techniques of asking questions in the class. That could be even as an online assessment. You can make use of that. So, I mean, as an online, when you're conducting, that's not going to be difficult. So what I wanted to drive a point here is that questioning techniques are good, but asking the right kind of question for you to drive the learning outcomes is most important. You may have several quizzes. If the quizzes are as easy, everybody gets full marks and you say, oh, my children have understood. It doesn't mean anything. Children also like challenges. So think of that. And I end by saying, a good teaching is more of giving a right question than giving of right answers. So that right question. So I believe in the power of questioning as a strong assessment technique. So thank you, sir. And thank you everybody for that patient listening. Now, if there are some questions, I'll be more than happy to be a part of questions.
Brilliant, ma'am. I mean, this is really fascinating and very much of knowledge to learn from you. Much you have compiled in very short duration of time, and I'm sure everybody would be waiting to say that, ma'am, please share your slides with us. So, ma'am, I'm the first person to request you, please share the slides with us so that I can share it with everyone in this group later.
Okay, sure. But
Yeah.
sir, before anybody leaves the session, no, I would want an exit slip of they writing one technique which they have liked. Liked in the sense or a takeaway, I would say. I'm not saying like or dislike. What they have. So that's my exit slip once you enter.
But to honor this thing of yours, I want a very important thing to be shared is a feedback form.
Okay.
That's a feedback form.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm sharing this link onto this chat box, and within this, what ma'am has asked, you have to answer it within the feedback form. If you can answer it right now, it's better. But if you can also put it in the feedback form that what is the method that you prefer and maybe why you prefer that method. So
so I'm seeing the chat. I'm seeing the chat, and a lot of people have already started answering.
Yes,
they like AWL charts. They like onion rings. They like 3-2-1 concept. So, and I see that educators are actually intending to start practicing these things in the classroom. Probably most of us were doing it, but we did not do it meticulously, or we kept focusing on the lesson than reflection, like ma'am said. And I think it is very important as a teacher also to reflect back on our lesson teaching and also from the students.
So what I feel personally, what is the biggest learning that I take from this particular session is that we need to have a continuous assessment going on in our class, in-class assessment and post-class assessment. I mean, the way ma'am has really taught us, broadened our understanding of assessments and evaluation. So I think at the end of every class, rather than just leaving the class with a summary of the topics, it's better to leave the class with some number of questions and to start the same in the next class, the same, with the next set of questions. So every class needs to be assessment. Yeah. Yes, Ashma.
So ma'am, I had a question. Like, I know there are a lot of concepts coming in, like send them the recorded lesson or video of the concept that you are teaching to provoke the questions that might come up in the class. So how do you, what is your go on that? Like, let's say tomorrow I'm going to teach fractions. So I send them a short video of some kind of actual fractions that are around us and give them a concept and ask them that, okay, come up with more examples. How do you relate to these kind of instigating questions in the class?
So today only morning we were discussing this particular example in school actually. So this, I would say, this is a very good, this is like a flipped classroom, a very, where you are asking them to, see some video or have some questions, and you're discussing the actual questions in the classroom. So I feel we are utilizing the classroom time very, very effectively. So that, I mean, that is the best way. So, but in that case, we were also discussing, actually brainstorming with all the teachers, that what if your 40% only of the students see, normally you wouldn't find everybody seeing that. Then you should have plan B ready as well. So this is, yes, ma'am.
I think Dr. Deepak has got a question. Deepak sir, if you've got a question, please ask.
Yeah, ma'am, I work with I work with a university, and right now, post-COVID, we have invited students to the campus. Now, thing is that more than 50% students, they learn online, and there are students who come to the class. So we teach in the class, we service online and offline. Now, the biggest challenge is to how to assess them when we give an activity, because I was good with active learning. I had lots of activities doing with the class. Even we switched to online. Now, thing is that it's OMO type of thing, online merge offline class. So in that situation, what can be the best technique to assess both and justify both of them?
I mean, if I've got you right, maybe I would say, see, you have it, say, maybe, I don't know, in face-to-face, whether you have something to show up. So an online quiz you are giving to the students there, and offline, say, you're having a crossword which is printable. So these online, you can ask them, okay, you solve the crossword there, and the printable version, you give it to the students who are there. That is, one way where I can think of immediately, which is coming to my mind. And crosswords are not only
Actually,
yes, sir. So
actually, ma'am, what we do is, yeah, I connect with students, online students through Google Meet, and the same projector, I project on the same screen on the projector, the students who are sitting there, right?
okay.
So in that way, what can be done?
So, sir, in that case, even though you're projecting the same screen, but the students can open, those who are online can open another window and solve the crossword there, while you are projecting that crossword puzzle on your screen. They can have another screen open where they're online, when they're online, your students who are there. So that's one way I could, suggest you, sir.
Right, ma'am. Even I tried with Kahoot once, and I could get some response, good response with the students.
Correct. Kahoot or Mentimeter. Kahoot has say a free version. I will say we are all. I mean,
thank you, ma'am.
It's not. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I got it. I'll definitely try it out, and I'll let you know.
Sure, I'll be happy to know that. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, ma'am. Indeed, a very good session today. But before we conclude today's session, I've got two more announcements to be made. One is related to the session, that is how to make assessments, and I got to know some very good tool of assessment. It's called Edward, and I'm going to share with you, which is being shared with you as a part of GEG events. Now, this particular thing, this is just a document. I'll also be sharing you the link of document in the email when I share the recording. Teachers are always occupied for assessing the students. Now, if you are digitally assessing the students, that means if you're asking students to submit their work in Google Docs or Google Sheets or something like that, then Edward is an extension. Okay, you have to install an extension, and that extension will help you. It has got a repository of different set of remarks and comments. So instead of going through the entire set of documents, okay, and then customizing the comments and giving students, each and every student, different set of comments, you have a tool which is called Edward. In that tool, you can directly just click the comment, and it's automatically related with the remark you want to put it up. So in the link in the document, there is a link to the video. 1-minute video link is also there in the document. I'm really much impressed with this tool. And as a matter of fact, this person, Jacob, is from Denmark. He's the founder of this particular software, and he has offered this tool free of charge to all the educators for first 2 months. So the link for registration for your freebie is also there inside this document. So as a matter of just to share this happiness is that something free which is given to us as educators. And Reshma, it's available for trainers. It's available for free. So I've already mailed you about that, and it's already there. So it's worth trying. I will be sharing more details about it in the email that I will be sharing with you. And one other important thing I wanted to share with you is before that, I would like to share my screen with you. So give me a moment here. We are coming up with something again interesting, which might interest you all, and that is, yes, we are coming up with another boot camp. So GCE Level 1 boot camp we are going to come up with. That is on the next Sunday, 7th of March. This will be a 5-hour jam-packed boot camp, but it will be divided into 2 different sets, 2 halves, 8 a.m. in the morning to 10:30 in the morning, and in the evening 7 to 9:30 p.m. So we are coming up with this boot camp, and in this boot camp, you see these all the tools, right? Gmail or calendar or the Drive or something. All these tools will be shared. Google Classroom, how to use Google Docs. So we have got many members joining us off lately with the GGs. So, and all the members have filled up the form, and while going through the forms, they found out that many of the members who have recently joined, or those members who are already there with us, are having a requirement to learn more about the basic Google tools. So we have already conducted a series of these kind of trainings in the month of November, or in the month of October, November, and we also have conducted one boot camp in the month of November. So they simultaneously, to honor the request and the requirement of all the new members as well as the existing members, we are coming up with this boot camp on 7th of March, which is next Sunday. So it's going to be a 5-hour session. So earlier we had kept 5-day session, but having contributing 1 hour every day was going to be hectic. So we just concluded that it's better that we contribute 5 hours in a day, and those who are interested can join in this. So we will try to arrange that session using Google Meet. But if the number of registrations crosses some particular numbers, then we may have to go for StreamYard. So whatever will be there, we shall be sharing with you. Tomorrow, you shall also be receiving an email regarding this, how to register for this. You can also share it with other colleagues of yours, other educators who wish to gain this kind of knowledge. And this boot camp will be completely free, and it's a joint effort by Reshma and myself. So it's a joint effort by GEG Pune and GEG Ahmedabad. So something again for the members, and just to compensate these 5 hours, we will not be conducting the session next Saturday. So next Saturday we will not be having a session. We will be having a session, 5-hour session for the bootcamp on next Sunday, which is 7th of March. So just to update everyone with this. So 2 announcements, the freebie, Edward, and the next is the bootcamp. And that's all for today's session. So before we conclude, Pradnya ma'am, thank you very much. You have really shared very important knowledge with us. And rather than the knowledge, we will definitely go through the presentation once again. But rather than the knowledge, you have made us realize that assessment is very, very important, and we need to be continuously assessing the students for what learning they get during the class. And the first question of the presentation, the first question you asked definitely has opened up the minds, is what is the difference between assessment and evaluation? Brilliant. I mean, it is really opened up this inquisitiveness regarding assessments. And I'm sure every educator today who have attended these sessions are going to perform better in their classes, and the students are going to benefit. So many, many thanks to you, Pradnya ma'am. You have really benefited not only the educators, but all the students as well.
Thank you, both of you. Excellent, and everybody present here. I'm impressed by everybody here.
Yes, Pradnya ma'am, and thanks a lot for giving your time. And
Thank you.
I know we have.
Hitesh sir is there. He was I was working. Hello, Hitesh sir.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. I'm happy to see you. It's a great opportunity for us to hear you on the education topics. It's great, ma'am.
Thank you,
You are
sir.
educated, provide a lot of knowledge for how to make a class live and effective. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And
Yeah,
we have a lot of educators here, so please, if you feel like sharing something that you know and that can benefit other educators, please feel free to fill up our form. This is voluntary, and we would really love to hear from you so that you can inspire other educators as well.
We are really lucky to have like-minded educators with us in this community, and every of the person is having some specialization in their own set of domain, and we would definitely wish to learn from all of you something or the other which is in benefit of the education and which is in benefit of the students' upliftment. So this is something very good, and we are really happy that we are able to maneuver this GEG group in a way that everybody gets the benefit. And I'm sure just as we have got this, today we got this concept of the freebie. I just posted this about this particular session in the LinkedIn, and I was being contacted by this person from Denmark, and he said, yes, you are going for a session for assessment. I've got something to offer to you, the educators. So this is how we got connected, and this is something we got from them. And thankful to Jacob and the team to offer this thing. This is really good tool. Even if it's for 2 months, you just try it out. You'll come to know many things. The repository of the remarks and the comments, brilliant. We may not even have thought of that we can even give this kind of comments, So it's all in there. It's built in. It's an extension. You need to download it and you need to log in and use it. Everything is self-explanatory in the topic, in the link that I've shared. I'll also be sharing the link same again in the email that I shall be forwarding with you along with the recording. So yes, I'm thankful to all the educators who have joined for today's session, as well as who have joined the group for enriching the group for a better exchange and collaboration of knowledge. So thank you one and all. We conclude today's session. It's already 9:03 and really timed up. Thank you one and all for your time and efforts. Thank you, Pradnya ma'am, for giving your expertise knowledge to us.
Thank you, sir. And hello, Sushmita ma'am. So we have all like-minded educators there. Excellent teachers here. Nice to see you all. I was working.
Sushmita ma'am, you're muted. Kindly unmute yourself.
Yes, Sushmita ma'am is muted. Yes.
Yeah, here too. So before everybody,
end this meeting. Yes.
Really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you.
And before the last thing, before everyone leaves, let us go for a selfie. Let us go for a photo click. Please come on the screens. Come on with your smiling faces. Wake up. I know it's dinner time in India, and everybody would be hungry and willing to go to take the dinner. But kindly come onto the screen. I wish to have your smiling faces captured in the camera, please. So, right, you can give any kind of poses like this or like this anyway, right? So here we go. It's 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for your pose and the smileys. So I'm shutting down the recording right now.